Ladies and gentlemen, been honored to God this evening to Pastor and my friend, Pastor Robert Frazier, and Mistress of Ceremony, and all of my board's colleagues who joined with me here in the pulpit. This evening, it is so good to be back in up the North Valley area. Good to see so many faces that I haven't seen in a number of years. Good to be back in the Mount Olivet Association. Good to be back in the state. Pastor Frazier asked me to send the bios. I searched for one that did not have a photograph, but I couldn't find one, so I had no choice but to send the one that you see in the bulletin this afternoon. My hope was to come back to the area knowing that when I left, no one would recognize me. I was going to have fun re-meeting people that I had pastored and known, and I was going to ask them if they had seen Pastor Murphy yet. But that being said, we are so glad to be here. I want to thank Dr. Frazier for the invitation. I want to thank this great church. We celebrate 112 years of faithful ministry here on this side of the road. Now, I'm not so vain as to think that this august crowd is here this evening because of me. You're here this evening because this pastor has done a great work in your midst. Amen. Amen. Because if he had not been the right kind of pastor, you wouldn't be here. I don't care who he had on the pulpit. So we commend this great pastor and these great preachers who join us in the pulpit this evening. I know you've had a long day. I understand that. And I will not stay up here any longer than necessary. But as you celebrated those among you who have lived 90 years plus, I wanted to present one from Calvary, Mrs. Emily Simon, who celebrates her 90 years. I shan't hold you long. I looked at your theme as I got the memo from the church. I want to commend you on a great thing. It is a great thing. It is a great passage out of this 142nd Psalm, 5th verse. I cried unto the Lord, and, O Lord, I said, Thou art my refuge and my portion in the land of the living. Great, great. And even your title, In the Cave, is the heading of a great thing. If I would be permitted to make any adjustment for the service this evening, I would simply like to talk from the thought, set it to music. Set it to music. It's not by chance that when the scriptures were put together, that between the Old and the New Testament, you would have the glorious song. There is something about music that changes everything. I sat this afternoon through the preliminaries of the worship, and I thought to myself how different this would be if there were no music, no song. How trying and tiresome it would be if there was no music. God knew what he was doing when he gave us music. I thought, Deacon Sam, I thought about those days when I had the privilege of pastoring in this area, and you and I and some of the deacons would take communion to some of our sick and shut-in. And they were at various stages, some of them with problems like dementia and Alzheimer's, and we would go and visit them, and we would read scripture, and we would pray, and they would look blank into the distance because the disease had done such a job that they could no longer even remember their children who was taking care of them. They could not remember their spouses. They didn't know what city or town they lived in. They had lost all of that. The disease had erased their memories. But when we pulled out one of those old gospels, all of a sudden they would start singing. And to the amazement often of their families, they wonder, how is it that you can't remember family and can't remember friends, but you can remember these hymns? Yes, sir. And the old-timers were wise. They knew and understood the value of music. And they would take what was most precious, the gospel itself, and wrap that gospel in a song. Come on, preacher. And they knew that if they wrapped it in a song, that generations would continue to remember the gospel. And as long as we had hymns where the gospel was wrapped in songs, people remembered the gospel. But when music began to change and the gospel lost its content in music, we are now finding ourselves living in a generation that has no idea whatsoever what the gospel is. There's something about music that sears things into our memory. If you don't believe it, ask any elementary school teacher who will teach her kids how to learn the alphabet in music. There's something powerful about music. Now, when David writes this Psalms, he's not writing it as the event happens. No, David is crying out to the Lord. He finds himself in a dark place, in a quandary, and he's crying out to the Lord. It's only sometime later, in retrospect, that he sits down and he looks back at the cave and he puts his experience to paper. When he does that, his intent now is to sing it. Because when you sing it, you remember it. Oh, talk to me for just a little while. All right. He's called the great singer of Israel. David's whole life was about one thing. It was to teach the people of God that we are to serve the Lord with joy and with gladness. That's how church ought to be. We ought to be glad to be saved. We ought to be glad to be in the church. Nobody should have to force us to come to church. The old timers who went through much more difficult times than we did would say, if I can just get to church, I believe I can make it the rest of the week if I can just get to church. We ought to serve the Lord with gladness. Amen. With joy. Because we have something that the world didn't give us. And the world can't take away. Amen. But serve the Lord with gladness. There's a hidden purpose to music. And God is really concerned that we understand that. When he had David write the Psalms, he told David to describe the harp. And he told him how many strings the harp had. And I get to reading that, and I get to wondering, of what value is that? Why is it important to me to know how many strings a harp has? But the idea that God is trying to get across to us, beloved, is that he is a God of harmony. And that anything having to do with God harmonizes. Have I got it with you? That it really does. That you can if you had a harp with only one string. Yeah. And it may be able to play the note of C. And Miss Murphy and Sister Paulette would tell you that you can play C in a number of octaves. But it's still C. You understand me? But if you add an E, then you got what we call harmony. And Lord have mercy, don't add a G to it. Because if you add a G, you got a C major. And the C major is not just something you hear. Ooh, C major is something you feel. All right. God is a God of harmony. Yes. And he wants us to harmonize the scriptures, because we got a whole lot of folk today making doctrine out of a single passage. Yeah, just picking up a verse and picking up a passage and making a whole doctrine out of nothing but one single passage. Let me tell you something, beloved. The gospel and the word of God has to harmonize. Yeah. If it doesn't work, if something in the old doesn't work in the new, and something in the new doesn't work in the old, I've gotten hold to something that's never intended to be doctrine. No scriptures of any private interpretation. You know, the Bible harmonizes all the way from Genesis to Revelation. And God is a God of harmony. I feel something coming along right here. He is a God of harmony, and he has given us music for the sake of the church. Lord, when you have a church that loves music, when you have a church that loves singing, I'm not talking about the professional quality. You may not be able to carry a good, clean note, but if your heart is right with God, you can sing yourself happy. myself happy. Sing myself happy. So he's given us music just for that purpose. Oh, our God is a good God. There's so many benefits to music. David pens these words, and he wants us to know that it is not in the hearing of the words that has its power, but its power is in the singing of the words. David was the great singer of Israel. The first thing that he wants us to know is that music will change the atmosphere of where you are. David found himself in the cave of Adullam because his father-in-law was chasing him. And he goes into the dark cave. But he didn't sing this particular psalm in 142 because this is a cry. Yeah. This is a prayer. Yeah. But he had so many other songs at his disposal. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Yes. But David had these songs at his disposal. And he went to singing those songs inside of that dark cave. And when you start singing the Lord's song in dark places, it has a way of taking a dark cave and turning it into a brightened sanctuary, because the singing of God's songs bring light, not just in our hearts and souls, but it will change the atmosphere. God has made us to sing. We are a singing people. Singing brought us through slavery. Singing brought us to where we are today. Whatever we do, we ought to keep on singing. I feel some help coming along. All right. Singing will change the atmosphere. Yes, it will. And not only that, but the singing will also confuse the devil. You think David was in that cave without an audience? No. Sitting outside the cave was the devil and his demons. Yes, sir. And they were waiting and listening. They said, David has been betrayed. He's in a dark place. They were waiting, church. First Baptist, they were waiting to hear profanity come out of the cave. Because some folk, even today, they don't have any of the troubles David had. But just let a little tempest kick out. And you'll hear profanity coming out of their homes and out of their bedrooms and out of their churches and out of their automobiles. The devil was waiting to hear profanities come out of the cave, but what he heard instead was praise. And praise confused the devil. Praise will change the atmosphere. Praise will confuse the devil, but praise will also bring in reinforcement. I mean, if you keep singing, just keep on singing. You don't have to feel good. Have you ever gotten up in the morning feeling bad? But just keep on singing. And I declare that if you keep on singing, something will start changing about that day, about your person, about how you feel. There's something about music that releases endorphins into the brain, and pleasure centers of your brain will take your sadness and your melancholy and your depression and turn it into joy. David said the people of God are the writing these Psalms he's writing these Psalms because he's looking back over his life. Yeah, he'd been through something. One of the toughest things that he had to experience. I'm on my way home. One of the things he had to experience was the pain of betrayal. There's nothing in the world like being betrayed. Have I got a witness today? Nothing like being betrayed, and there is nothing worse in the world than being betrayed by those you love, by family, and by friends. Those leave deep wounds. And David had been betrayed. His brothers betrayed him and mocked him and made fun of him when he brought them lunch from their father Jesse to the battlefield. And they said, who have you left those few sheep with? Keep your eyes open, I'm almost finished. Who have you left those few sheep with? And so he felt the betrayal of his brothers. But he also felt the betrayal of his wife, who mocked him and made him out to be some kind of a clown. David was betrayed by his wife. But he was also, Brother Ron, he was also betrayed by his father-in-law, King Saul, who wanted to kill him and chase him from pillar to post. Saul was in a bad way. He had found out that somebody in his cabinet had put out an article on him. And he found out that he had a traitor in the midst. And every time he called a cabinet meeting, he had to look into the faces of those who were praising him with their lips and wondering if they had a knife for his back. Saul was in a bad way. And whoever they were, had taken this article and sent it to the Jerusalem Times to be published. And so now chaos was in the kingdom. And Saul was angry. Saul was furious. He was in a state of rage. And he said, who's helping David? Somebody said, well, the priests are lending him a helping hand. As a matter of fact, they've even allowed him to eat the old showbread that once sat in the tabernacle. And Saul in his rage, because nothing is more dangerous than a wounded king. And you listen to me and you take note of what I'm saying. Nothing is more dangerous, not just to the king, but to you and to you and to me and the whole country. Nothing is more dangerous than a wounded king. And so David, they said, well, the priests are helping David. So David, Saul rather, has the priest of God slain. He kills God's priest because of this article they wrote about him losing his sanity. About discussing among themselves of pulling the 25th on. He's in a quandary. He doesn't know what to do. So David knows that not only is he coming after me, but if he's willing to kill the priest, he's sure enough willing to kill me. And so David gets to running. He gets to running, and he gets into the cave, and nobody knows exactly when the 23rd Psalm was written. But some people say, well, in his old age, he looked back over his life. And that this cave of Adullam may have been one of the motivations of David writing the 23rd Psalm. Because in that psalm that expresses the feelings of a mature man, he said, thy rod and thy staff. He said they comfort me. Now we can understand the staff comforting David because God's staff is like a lean. And when you get weary, you lean up against it. And the good news is that you'll never fall over. David said, your staff comforts me. But here's the comfort. He says, not only the staff, but your rod also comforts me. And you say, preacher, what's so unique about? Well, the rod was for chastening. The rod was for getting a whipping with. And David said, not only do your staff comfort me, but your rod comforts me. Because David said, when I get a whipping from the Lord,